Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I just reminded myself that I was watching something recently. Has me thinking about the way I've been inflecting things and pronunciations, but we'll get into that. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerdsNeat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
With Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man co-hosting from the borough, one agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings.
Brooklyn, we go hard. We go hard. We go hard. We go hard.
Hadn't heard that one in a minute. And you could find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's espn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like and subscribe and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews.
And you could also find us recording every Thursday night, mostly anyway, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/the Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you know when we are on live.
Yeah. And folks, we are gonna just hit the ground running this week again, even though we don't have half as much news as we did last week, with spoiler-free, spoiler-light recaps of Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Star Trek Picard season 3 finales.
Yeah, the respective season 3 finales. Incredible, isn't it, folks, that we've gotten to this point?
Yeah. And they pretty say that both of them delivered in interesting ways.
Yes, I think so. And I think that overall, and we'll take them one at a time, and it's not really fair to compare them because I feel that, and it's not a spoiler here, folks. We've been kind of talking about the Picard season 3 being the last season of Picard, and knowing that they could go all out, and the theme of their season was, in fact, as I've said many a time, getting the band back together for one last ride. Unlike the fast crew, this last ride actually ends this season. So that, I think, was the impetus for a pretty strong overall season. You know, obviously there are nits to pick and ups and downs to endure during the season, but I feel that the third season of Picard overall was the strongest of all 3 seasons. Stronger than, I think, the first 2 combined, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Well, since we're already on that line, we'll go ahead. We'll do that one. We'll start.
Right. No, I mean, we'll circle back to the Mandalorian just because I wanted to take them as whole packages, viewing them as whole seasons up front, and just saying that I think that Picard as a whole, the third season was stronger simply because they had the ability to throw everything against the wall and to really tell this kind of throwback and shout out, dropping all the Easter eggs and potentially laying planting new seeds for new stories. Mm-hmm. Whereas with the Mandalorian, it seemed like, and I heard this on another podcast, so obviously, I apologize for not having a completely original idea, but I found myself in total agreement. It felt like the showrunners for The Mandalorian had too many goals to meet and did not have an overall theme for the season. And we found ourselves kind of jumping around until the last 3 episodes.
Hmm. I would partially agree with that, but also I feel like they know what they were trying to do, but I feel like they kind of put too much in to do so. Because we saw it with we didn't see it with the Bad Batch, because the Bad Batch was like, well, there wasn't really much else to do but to kind of start down a certain road. But with the Mandalorian, it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do a little bit of this on the side. It's kind of, which you, in a way, you kind of get, because the timeline never stops, so
right.
you kind of keep certain things up in the air to get to the end goal. But we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, let's circle back around to the particulars of Star Trek Picard season 3, which
you want to go back to Star Trek first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So season 3, episode 10, which is the last one, it's called The Last Generation, and as Agent 70 said, it is definitely the last ride of the crew of the Star Trek, the Starship Enterprise D specifically.
Right.
So I definitely say I put out some halfway joking but halfway serious theory on Twitter a couple of days ago prior to the show, and some of it actually kind of came true, but also a couple of them were like things that other people were kind of intimating also. So it's not fully original, but I just kind of put a little spin on it. Like I said, something what happened at the end, pretty much I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, and of course they were going to do that. There are a couple of other things that I wish kind of had happened that didn't happen. But nevertheless, it was still pretty good. I was actually kind of shocked with the way they ended it before the last part of it. And again, the show just came out today, so we won't want to spoil too much of it at all. But I feel like it was a pretty good send off for that crew.
Yes, agreed.
That being said, like I'm trying to think of some stuff to kind of dance around. There are, I can say that certain folks, spoilers may see. I mean, it's not spoilers. Theories may seem to have some weight on it, giving the outset of it. There was actually a surprise at the end that I was like, that was kind of asked at the end of the end of the show also, because I had the same question as this one character asked. So I was like, yeah, wait, hold on. But also, like I said, there's still like a tie, a loose end or two from like last season, maybe even first season, that was like, okay, so are they going to do anything with that they did not do here? But I guess, given what we know now, could, as Agent 70 said, be be part of those new stories that they end up coming across right at a later date. So what you got to say?
I mean, ultimately, I feel that, as I said earlier, there are seeds planted, and they're enticing because it's a mix of semi-new Trek and new Trek. And when I say semi-new Trek, it's a one character that comes back from semi-old Trek, right? And a mix of other characters that came with New Trek. So that is an interesting mix. I will say that I saw a smattering of actors in this show that I had seen in other projects. I was like, wait a second, that Asian dude at the helm, I think, is in Beef. I think he's the guy that plays Ali Wong's husband.
Oh, nice.
On the Netflix series.
Right.
I binged that last weekend, so for the culture. So, sure.
Despite the controversy, apparently.
Which controversy? There's controversy around a lot of things.
Oh, that's true. About I think the showrunner or the dude that's behind it yeah, I don't know. We'll talk later. Don't worry about it. like you said,
like
it was always
there's
something.
controversy about a lot of things.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
it was. Well,
You know,
yeah.
there
Anyway,
are
like I
things
said, we'll talk later.
popping left and right. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
people out there know what's going on. So
ultimately, I'll say that the story turned out okay.
Yeah.
Right. I like the homages to certain things. I like that. It was. I guess that's a spoiler. Let's just say people come out scarred, but only to a very light degree.
yeah, I mean, if you have seen the episodes up until now, and you have seen enough Star Trek, you kind of get the gist of what potentially could happen to certain characters.
Right.
So it's not that big of a spoiler, but yeah, it is an actual spoiler to I guess to a certain degree. But yeah, like I said, I'm curious to see if there's going to be any announcements coming up to any further projects outside of the ones that we've already heard about, or at least the one that we've already heard about that is coming down the pipe. But yeah, like I said, enjoy the story and the whole, tapping into old Trek and kind of blending some stories from different parts of that same universe and even circling back to one that was kind of, in TNG proper for a good bit, including the movies, kind of revisiting that stuff. Not a big surprise because they've been doing it all, all 3 seasons, much less just this one, but they did it in a pretty effective way that wasn't too groan inducing. That wasn't actually groan inducing personally, but then again, the people's affection for Star Trek TNG can let go of a lot of things.
Right. And it's that era of Trek, right? When I say that era, we're talking about TNG, DS9, and even into Voyager, because that is the Trek for a certain generation.
Yeah, that's true. The next generation, some would say.
Oh no!
Come on. It was too easy. You just had to.
I know. I put it up on a T. I put it up on a T for Roddykat. So, ultimately, ultimately, it was a pretty satisfactory ending for Picard. Now, however, we have to deal with Mando and the kind of strange things that happened there.
Indeed. And strange is it not in, things that happened in the actual story was actually fairly straightforward and fairly breezy. What the pace of it wasn't the problem, was the, okay, this is where we are now part of the situation.
Right. And I'll tell you, there are a couple of developments in the episode that were, you know what?
These are things that make you say,
right? I'll tell you but first let me start with the things that were, pretty fun to see, like mid-air Mandalorian style combat, air-to-air combat. That was pretty cool. Yeah. It's stuff that we'd seen in Rebels and a little bit of Clone Wars, like that kind of air-to-air Mandalorian style combat. But it was really nice to see that in live action.
Right.
So I dug that. The part that I didn't necessarily dig was the destruction of a particular artifact.
Yeah, the price of that's going to. I thought about it after I saw that. I was like, "What price of this is going up real quick?"
Right, because when I saw that, I was like, emotional damage.
Yeah.
I was what?
I kind of felt a kind of way too. I was like, oh, come on, how do you do that?
Wait a second, Filoni, Favreau. I got all the reaction. Like, I've got my reaction sound effect page in front of me right now because I had so many feelings about this episode because, it was, I definitely sat up and clapped during one scene towards the end, right? I sat up and clapped. I kind of laughed when I saw Bo-Katan try to do a cap with a tiny little laser shield. I was like, no, that's not gonna work, Bo-Katan.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, that's cute, but
No, that's not a shield. This is a shield. That's the meme right there, right?
right.
Like literally, the meme writes itself.
Right. But at the same time, it was like, okay, what she was doing with it, I was like, all right. And
right, the sentiment is correct.
Right.
The thought is there. The thought really does count in a lot of instances. But guess what? I don't think there was enough thought into that one. So
yeah, I agree. Because I was like, yeah, if what happened didn't happen, that could have gone all kind of ways of bad. But
yeah, exactly.
But
so
maybe you could take it as like, okay, they thought they knew what was going to happen or something was going to happen in that case, so therefore we had to do this. I don't know. That's kind of stretching it a little bit, a lot.
Right. So I guess what we can do is just talk about like our feelings about the season 3 of The Mandalorian as a whole, where we think we're going from here, without spoiling too much, because ultimately we have some of the news that came out of Celebration. Right? We don't know exactly what season 4 of Mando is going to do, or if we're going to go straight into what the plans are that were revealed in Celebration.
It seems as though that latter is probably going to be the case. So before we get to it, I would just say that this is episode 8 of The Mandalorian season 3, chapter 24, which is named The Return. And part of me was thinking there was actually going to be the return of a character for some reason, but I couldn't understand why that this character would come back, or maybe they would go further into indeed kind of leveraging the news from Celebration and starting that ball rolling, which they didn't seem to do either. So it was pretty much a, hey, here we go, we're there. Now we're here, coming into the outside of it. And this is kind of a shorter-ish episode. Well, it's not, because people are saying, because there's actually people are like, yeah, the ending is kind of on the short side, which it is for the ending of a show, because the Star Trek Picard was like an hour and like 2 minutes or something.
Yep.
And this is pretty much a standard size episode of the Mandalorian, give or take. Because actually, there is one, from what I'm seeing, is a shorter show. But that was from this. But nevertheless, yeah, like I said, it was weird to kind of get to the end, and it's like, okay, that's what we got. But the season as a whole, I guess most of the stuff you said like previously, it kind of does fit, because like, yeah, and what we've both been saying is like, yeah, they kind of fit a whole bunch in here to kind of take care of some stuff to I guess not being able to have another project to do it in before whatever some of the stuff from Celebration ends up bearing out.
Right.
So but yeah, it was as much as I hate to say it, this was kind of a cut and dry episode. It was not saying it wasn't good, and the season as a whole wasn't good, but I don't know, I guess we've gotten spoiled to the point to where it's like, okay, where we used to, whether we're getting anything else out of this, such as another season or not, we're kind of used to the fact that it was like, all right, there's going to be at least a seed or two that could be picked up on, and there still kind of is, but for the most part, it's like, well, as far as this story is concerned, here we are until they pick up something new, which seems to be potentially a thing. So I don't know. I'd let you take it from there.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, the bulk of this story is setting up the next steps for the Mandalorian people, right? And again, filling in some of the gaps between Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogy. And we are carrying forward some of the concepts that we came to learn about in the sequel trilogy. Some,
Mhm.
not a lot, just a few.
Right.
So
given what we found out in this episode and given what we know to be happening from Celebration, like, even though on the surface it doesn't seem like, okay, the two are going to connect, but you think about what comes out of the outset of this thing, like, okay, we see where they're basically, I've been hearing floating around, they're setting up a Star Wars Avengers, quote unquote, type situation.
Yeah. Where Bo-Katan and Mando and Grogu and Ahsoka
and Sabine and
Sabine and Hera and whoever else is in Ahsoka band together to face the foe that not any one of them can fight before, probably being Thrawn and somebody else.
Yep, it's probably just Thrawn. But they hadn't really set up anybody else. But
they beat Thrawn with just a bunch of space whales and Ezra.
True, but also if you think about that season, it kind of took a minute to get to that point.
That's true.
So
I'm just teasing folks about the space whales, kinda.
But it's true. And we still don't know what happened after that. So they're definitely a thing that they're going to that's going to have to come up on something, more likely than not Ahsoka, as to what happened there and leading into whatever they're trying to lead into. But we got some time on that. But yeah, like I said, another Mandalorian season in the books. A couple of one toy, one piece of merchandise down. Another one's still kind of on the table, even though, two pieces of merchandise possibly down, but one's still on the table. We know it's going to come.
And we know there's going to be a Jack Black and Lizzo action figure at some point. So, those may very well be collector's items.
Quite likely. But yeah, we're going to, I guess if we're done with that, we're going to go into the books.
Yes.
But we're going to say what up to Benji Games 2, who shouted us out in the chat a few minutes ago. But didn't want to.
How you doing? Roddy, you had one thing you wanted to mention before we moved on to books, right?
That is correct, actually. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. So I watched the Power Rangers Once and Always special on Netflix earlier today. And I for the most part I enjoyed it. It was I don't want to say predictable because that's not right, but also it's it's Power Rangers, it goes a kind of certain way, but also it was a nice special with a couple of touching moments in it, because the way they kind of couched it is basically actually has to do with if you've seen the trailers for it, you kind of know, but the Ranger Legacy, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that might carry on from what I've seen and read. I don't know if that's a thing that's gonna I don't know how, if or when. Well, I do know how, but I don't know if that's going to be a thing that's going to get carried on from there on, but I guess we will see. Like I said, the thing just came out like yesterday as a recording, so I don't want to spoil it also. But like I said, it was fun. If you're a fan of the Power Rangers, I think you will like it. They put a little bit of money into it, actually, even though some of the CG for a certain part, still looks a little on the cheap side. But considering how one of the movies CG was from back in the day, it's still kind of better. And obviously you don't have the full, Ranger team for various reasons, or the original Ranger team for various reasons. So they kind of made some concessions and kind of worked around that, and of course, as this, I guess, is kind of a spoiler, but there's, the a kind of a tribute to Three Trang and Jason David Frank, for them for the because they had passed. But yeah, all in all, it was cool. It was fun. It was good to see. There was there was a thing which was asked and answered that did get answered, but it's still and another thing that I guess may come up again. I don't know if that's the case, because it was kind of curiosity as to how certain things could happen if a thing had already happened in the past. Which again, fans of that era of Power Rangers know what I'm talking about. So they kind of tried to explain that a little bit, but still not as much as you would think they would, or could, I guess. I don't know. After a certain point of Power Rangers, things kind of was like, I don't know, here, we just got this thing going on and keep on going. Morphin Grid, check, peace, keep going. Like I said, fan of the Power Rangers, you'll like it, and enough said about it. That's better. Check it out if you do get a chance, because it is kind of fun and get to see some of the old crew, but not a whole lot. It wasn't like one of those, hey, we're going to get everybody back together, but just a certain part of a certain beginnings of, I guess, the beginnings and part of the Rangers, and not like they have done in the past. It's just like, here's every Red Ranger type situation, or whatever the case may be. But like I said, still fun. Now we can go on into the books of the week.
Well, that's the whole of justice.
And we're going to start off with Amazing Spider-Man number 24.
This is not the penultimate, but I guess it is the lead into the big anniversary issue coming up very soon. It's written by Zeb Wells, with pencils by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So I will tell you that I speed read this issue just prior to the beginning of the show, as we were doing our pre-show, setup, and I did it on the advice of Roddykat, because he mentioned it's something that I would want to read, and it would read fairly quickly, and he was right on both accounts, although what I got out of it was not necessarily what I was expecting, although I kind of was, because ultimately it did fall into place pretty much how we thought it did. There were a couple of reveals that fill in a few more of the gaps, but ultimately here we are about to discover the final step of what drives a wedge between a bunch of characters, as we found in the first issue of this volume of Amazing Spider-Man. We know, but we basically know for most of the characters. If there's one comment that I made while reading this that Roddykat gave a pretty resounding agreement to, was, why on earth are they thieving from these characters and not asking them for specific help? But it's story based. What are you going to do? Got to move the plot along.
Pretty much. And as Agent 70 asked before the show, why are you asking why are you asking this person for help as opposed to these people that you stole from?
Right.
Right. My only answer was 1, comics, 2, just to take that box of the plot. It doesn't make any kind of sense at all. But again, this is the story we got. Also, there is some news that we're going to get to that seems a little hyper. Maybe it's going to bear out, because I feel like Agent 70 and I were pretty much we're halfway there to what this article is intimating. And that's all I will say about that until we get to it. And with that, we're going to go into rapid fire.
All right, we're going to go into rapid fire. I will play the rapid fire sound effect, of course. Of course, I will, of course. But there is a sound effect that I am searching for right now that I want to play because a particular game just went final. And I'm looking for my reaction. And I'm not, oh, here we go. Here it is. So, it is game 2 of the first round of the NHL playoffs. The New York Rangers just beat the New Jersey Devils for a second time in a row with the same score, 5-1. Okay, that's that. Next up, we are going into rapid fire.
I ain't got time to bleed.
First up, I guess, for rapid fire, because it is the only other book I read this week, is Avengers Assemble Omega #1. It's written by Jason Aaron. And without getting into the specifics of their art chores, the providers of the art on this giant-sized book are Aaron Cooter, Dexter Vines, Ivan Fiorelli, Javier Garron, Jim Toe, and Alex Sinclair. Letters are by VC's Corey Petit. It's sort of how we expected things to pan out. What I was telling Roddykat before this is that it's not exactly putting all of the toys back into the toy box. Not exactly. Because of, and this seems to be the trend nowadays in all of these big event books, where majority of the toys are put back into the toy box to, go on their own adventures after the story is finished. But there are a few select characters that are taken either out of play, put into positions or situations or places that are very much unexpected. And whether or not something comes of these characters very soon or far down the road is left to be seen. We also have the development of new characters who were literally born out of the pages of this event, and now find themselves, not to quote PM Dawn, but they're set adrift on memory bliss. They're essentially adrift and find themselves with a new purpose based on some aspects of this Avengers Assemble story. So that is where we find ourselves at the end of this big capper to Jason Aaron's Avengers run. So that I see is kind of like the overall theme for a lot of these events now. Like, that's how it breaks down. There are a few characters who are completely thrown into situations foreign to them, and we'll see whether or not that's touched on anytime soon. There are new characters introduced in the event that are used to set up new stories, and the old toys are still left to left for subsequent creators to tell stories with. If that sounds familiar, sounds just like Spider-Verse. It's probably going to be the end of the same story. It's the same story of the end of the Spider-Verse as well. If you think about what I just described, that seems to be how a lot of these big events are ending nowadays. So I will leave it at that, and that's it for my rapid fire. And a little bit of commentary on event books.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on, actually. Well, for myself, we're going to get into some DC, okay, with Static Shadows of Dakota #3 of 6. So written by Nicholas Draper Ivy and Vida Ayala, art by Nicholas Draper Ivy with additional colors by Will Quintana, and letters by And World Design. So get a visit from the Blood Syndicate, who I had questions like, wait, is this did they do the wrong book and whatever? But which, this is all in the Dakotaverse, so of course there's always some crossover. But the part they play into it kind of serves as a Q&A for who may or may not be the big bad of this arc. But also, I guess, serving into intentions of someone else who may or may not be helping said person, or maybe doing a similar thing, and what's going on with. So, as I've said before with this book, there are Bang Babies that are getting kidnapped and experimented on, and Virgil's trying to, after one recent happening, Virgil's kind of hot to get out there and try to find out who it was. And his family is like, okay, sure, but you need to do this, and I know you want to get out there and do this, but you should kind of calm down and do some other things first, while there's other stuff with the Blood Syndicate that they don't know, none of them know about it happens. And looks like it's going to get a little closer to home, because there's a particular character that's kind of skulking around a friend of Virgil's, for a reason that I kind of guess as to what's going to happen. But yeah, we're in the middle mark, so and this book still continues to be pretty decent on it. Next book for myself is excuse me, Black Adam number 10 of 12. Script by Christopher Priest, pencils by Jose Luis and Montos, inks by Jonas Trindad and Montos, colors by Matt Herms, and letters by Willie Schubert. So yeah, this is the I guess the final corner in this Black Adam series, and yeah, there's parts of this thing that I have no idea what's going on, I will say, because there's some folks kind of floating around that Adam may or may not have had some hand in creating or bringing into existence, and they're kind of around doing some things. I suspect that's going to come in the head in the next issue or two. And then there's of course some political things going on with Adam and Kondak. Then there's this of course there's this other new Adam in the form of Malik, who I guess recently is been healed, or not healed, but at least gotten better from the virus that kind of plagued both him and Adam. But it seems that there's going to be, because of some shenanigans that happened in this, not necessarily shenanigans, probably a little too much for that, but some subterfuge that happens in this issue is going to cause them to butt heads in the next one. So, of course, like I said, probably at the end of the next issue, it's going to be like, oh well, here's what all this was about, and go. But see when that happens, or when and or if that. Next up is Batman Superman World's Finest number 14. Written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters by Steve Wands. So this is continuing that the investigation of who killed Simon Stagg, but it seems that not all is what it seems in that situation. And especially given some of the things that they found out in this particular issue, that yeah, I guess as tropes go, not surprising, I suppose. But we also see team ups of Superman and Robin, and Metamorpho and Batman, and Bruce Wayne getting kind of salty because of some pretty good investigation on not his part against that ended up being against him from last issue, which that was kind of a funny part of this. But Soups and Robin kind of ends up in a little bit of automated trouble. And there's a couple of cameos by some DC notables, let's just say, that Wade and Morris tend to put in this book at times. So, always it's kind of fun. Next up, Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck. Number 4. Probably use this. This cover of the one. Go. Scripted by Amanda Dabert, art and color by Carlo Lauro, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So last couple of issues has been pretty much Drake Mallard out of retirement or in retirement from Darkwing Duck, and the people around him are trying to get him to kind of unretire, trying to pull him back in, which unsurprisingly happened in this issue, and unsurprisingly the way it happens should be no surprise. But if you are a fan of Darkwing Duck, I think you will continue to read this book because they kind of keep in the same tone of the animated series. I'm sure there probably was a book at some another set of books also. Next up is She-Hulk, number 12, also legacy numbered 175 of our favorite green skin giantess, Jade Giantess, as sometimes she is called. Written by Rainbow Rowell, art by Andres Genolet and Joe Quinones, who also does art on a backup story. Color artist D. Conniff and Brian Valenza, who also does colors on said backup story, and letters for the whole thing by BC Joe Caramagna. As I was telling Agent 70 before the show, part of the main story kind of goes back to the end of the last issue, in which Jen kind of got vexed by a dude stealing a thing, and there is a revisitation of that near the end of the main story. But there's also Jen pretty much had one heck of a day in her legal life. Or one long day, I says, in her legal life. And there's also a part in this where she's talking to Jack about a thing. So all of that is still in there. And the backup has to do with Jen on her off time starting another type of club that is far different from the Fight Club that we've seen started up in this book. But also kind of... I guess hashes out a thing between her and a fellow adventurer at the outset of it. So this was the particular click of the week of me. I enjoyed the story. So it's a nice read. Good read. Next up, Hellcat number 2. Written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Alex Lenz, color artist KJ Diaz, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. So, daddy issues, the past, and the revelations from the last issue kind of all meld here in a way. Also, if you're a 90s kid, Marvel's kid, and you remember the name Sleepwalker, they also play a part of this issue of this book. Because Marvel, if nothing else, and certain writers love trying to bring it back this is old characters you haven't thought about in I don't know how long. And this is exactly, and this is one of those cases. So I won't say too much more than that, but it's an interesting read. Last up for myself is probably another potential click of the week for myself in Star Wars Sana Starros number 3. I No, yeah, I think this is ongoing. Actually, I think that has been confirmed that this is ongoing, or it's going to go until it doesn't. But it's written by Justina Ireland with art by Perry Perez, color artist Dono Sanchez Almara, and letters by BC's Travis Lanham. So, to coin the Fast and the Furious folks, family. That is the issue of the day here. You know, Sana kind of was taking a break from, I'm assuming, what I still not sure what happened in the pages of Dr. Afra. And found herself in a whole different other mess with a bunch of her family members, including apparently one family member who shows up in this book who I did not know was family, or may or may not actually, I guess, hasn't been explained as to how they're family, but they are family in a High Republic bounty hunter who showed up during that that bounty hunter War of the Bounty Hunters crossover, which I think may have or gotten introduced in that event actually. Who's kind of floating around and has some connection to the Starros family. So, and that kind of comes out in this issue. Also, spoiler alert, Sana Rise of Rancor. Why is she doing that? You had to read the book to find out. But it's kind of fun. And this book has been pretty fun read for the last few issues, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So yeah, if you like Sana Starros, I think you should check this book out. And that's it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
And we did get one from, actually I forgot to one of our co-hosts got ahead of us in their click, because apparently it was that strong. This is probably went to bed. But Dirt says that DC Silent Tales #1, which is a one shot, is his click of the week. He didn't say why. Now, if it was, I had asked him, like, was this a new ongoing? But that was before I saw the one shot tag. But I have seen, and matter of fact, I think I talked about the one of these books that they have done in the recent past, like probably within the last month or two. And I don't know if this is like a collection of those, or this is just like some brand new stuff that they just put in a one shot. I don't know. That was something I meant to look up before I started recording. But the one I read seemed kind of fun. It felt like they were basically, it was like, hey, remember the silent interlude issue of G.I. Joe? They pretty much did a whole bunch of stories on that, or in that vein, but lighter. Way
Gotcha.
lighter. So.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay, and Tim apparently, well, he says the only book he started was Avengers Assemble Omega. That's probably going to be the closest.
Right. I was about to say that. Listen, I only had two choices. I had Avengers Assemble Omega #1 or Amazing Spider-Man #24, and we know I am not choosing Amazing Spider-Man #24. So, guess what, folks? Avengers Assemble Omega #1 is my click of the week pick.
Automatically.
Right.
So there we go. We'll use the Shang-Chi cover. Which, oh, by the way, yeah, I don't know if for those watching the video version, I think this is the month they brought back corner boxes on the variant covers. So they're basically kind of killing two birds with one stone. It's good to see the corner boxes back, if only for a month, or situationally, I guess. Which actually kind of reminds me of some art that I've been trying to do, but that's for something else. So let's see. So they got theirs. It's up to me now. My choices are the aforementioned She-Hulk and Star Wars Sana Starros. I don't know. I like both of them. Kind of stood out to me as being some cool reads. Well, later with that. You know what? I'm going to give to She-Hulk because, it's a legacy issue. That's not, it's kind of not a fair bearing, but nevertheless, I think it was a pretty good issue. I mean, they have been like this whole series so far has been pretty straight. Weirdly want make me want to go read Legend, not Red, Runaways, which I had been meaning to do at some point because of Rainbow Rowell, and even before her run actually. But
Right.
so with that, folks, that thing up pretty quick before we go into the before we go into the news section, we got an ad read to go to.
All right, folks. Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to cabernet to torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. Now we get into the news. Oh, Roddykat is muted.
Sorry. Before we get into the news, I want to ask Agent 70 a quick question.
Shoot.
Yeah, anything on the horizon, either book-wise or live-action-wise, that you're looking forward to?
Well, on the horizon, we have literally a couple of, I was just talking with I can confirm that that we have movie protocol set up for Guardians. We're probably going to have movie protocol set up for Fast X too.
Quite likely.
And we're probably going to just 2 weeks after that, we're literally going to be, there's going to be a string, like a 6-week stretch where we're only going to have 3 shows because every other week will be movie protocol because of Enter the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, or we may fit. We'll see how it goes. Yeah,
right, exactly. Because at the end of the day, we try to fit in shows on the following Friday if we can. It all depends on our schedule. So we will see, but we definitely will be going into movie protocol for basically every 2-week period for like 6 weeks. It's a crazy time. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, is that period of time. And that and Ahsoka. That period of time between those 3 movies and Ahsoka. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's August.
Right.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Especially with what they've been setting up with that thing. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. All right. Slight subterfuge aside, now we can get onto the news because I forgot to I forgot to do a thing with the news, so therefore I had to kind of get Agent 70 to stretch.
Stalling! We're stalling for time. You know what we do when we're doing that.
Good. Now, with the exception of why this. Oh, there we go. All right, cinematic news, folks. Starting off with, actually, just kind of can kind of blow through this because I kind of said my piece about the Star Power Rangers thing. So at this point, the Once and Always special is out on Netflix. You can go check it out yourself. And the article, which was from like last week, pretty much goes into it's basically a clip of what they were trying to, what I mentioned they were trying to explain with how powers are still working. And like I said, they did kind of go away to do such a thing. And I think some of that may have been lifted from comic books, the more recent comic books, but I can't remember because I need to go back and actually finish reading this. But I do remember some similar thing happening. Nevertheless, there is that, and the clip is there, but you can, again, like I said, the whole thing is out, so you can just go ahead and watch the whole special if you're so inclined. Next up.
All right, the Dungeons and Dragons TV show. There's going to be a TV show, and now has a showrunner. Variety reports that Drew Crivello will be the showrunner of the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons television show, which is being developed for Paramount Plus. Crivello is best known as the co-creator of Apple's We Crashed limited series, and has previously been a producer for movies like Deadpool and X-Men First Class. Okay. This marks his first time as the solo showrunner for a series, and he will also be an executive producer. Okay.
So part of this is not giving me too much hope. Because it says here that the pilot script for the show was written by Red Notice director Rawson Marshall Thurber. If you've watched Red Notice, the book with The Rock, Gal Gadot, and Deadpool. I can't remember his name at this point, but
Ryan Reynolds.
Thank you. You know what I'm talking about,
right?
But yeah, that doesn't give me that much for it. But we'll see. It could be, could be better than what I'm thinking. Anywho's, let's see. This news we alluded to earlier from the Star Trek realm. Star Trek Section 31 original movie event starring Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh has been announced. That is the article, if you're watching the video version, saying that, which she is. So there's nothing wrong. There's nothing out of it. But yeah, so the Section 31 movie that has been announced started out as a show, starring Michelle Yeoh, with her returning her to her Mirror Universe character, Emperor Philippa Georgiou, and apparently who's been in Star Trek Discovery more than the part of it that I saw. But there is that. I think. But yeah, so yeah, this is it says here that Michelle Yeoh says, I'm beyond thrilled to return to the Star Trek family and to the role I've loved so long. So, and it is no secret that this is kind of a character that she's wanted to come back to at some point. But as William Bruce West said, it was like, yeah, she wasn't coming back for nothing less for nothing less than a movie or something, but giving her recent Oscar win. Which, I mean, who's to say she might have come back for a show. So she likes to work. But yeah, so it is now a movie event, as it says here, and I'm not entirely sure. We don't have a direct date as to when this is going to happen. But we know it's going to happen. And so, it says here, production is beginning later this year, so we don't have any firm date on when it's going to be released. Next up.
All righty. So, in last week's episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, spoiler alert, a character from the main MCU made a surprise appearance. Maria Hill. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Showed up in the episode. Guess who voiced her? Colby Smulders. So that's pretty cool because she returned to reprise her role.
Yeah, I hadn't finished watching those ones because, like I said last week, they did put some more of those episodes out there, so there's like 16 out there for anyone who wants to check them out. But also, like I said, they kind of lean to the more tween side, so Your mileage may vary as to whether you will get into it or not. But
Right.
but the ones I watched were fun. Next up, Stan Lee documentary that is coming to Disney Plus this summer. Now we've talked about this before as being a thing that was announced. Now we have something closer to a date. It says, I guess it's just called Stan Lee. And it will, yes, it says here that it is going to be on Disney Plus June the 16th. So, and it says here that the documentary chronicles Lee's fascinating life and his times with Marvel, including as co-creator as every other character under the sun for that franchise and whatnot. There's a poster here for the documentary, and of course the aforementioned date. So definitely we will be talking about that along with everything else when that releases. Next up.
Alrighty. So during an interview for Citadel on Prime Video, comicbook.com's Chris Killian had to at least ask Eternal star Richard Madden for his thoughts on the future of Eternals and maybe the fate of Icarus, the character that he played. And Madden said, spoiler alert for Eternals, but it's kind of hard to come back from what happened to Icarus in that movie, isn't it? And they laughed. So ultimately, it sounds like this character may not come back, but we'll see.
Yeah, may or may not. This is Marvel after all. Things can happen. But I think this article also says, like, yeah, he's supposed to be like Superman, and Superman's solar powered, so go the other way,
Right.
But Jon Favreau shares how Jack Black and Lizzo ended up in The Mandalorian.
They're famous.
Well, they're outside of that, but yes, during an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Favreau explained Lizzo and Jack Black got involved because honestly, one of the things we really like about working on the show is we like to bring people in who are fans themselves, which I can safely say is true for at least one or two of them, or one of them from what I've seen in the past. Lizzo and Jack Black were both very active on social media. Then it goes into how they met and whatnot. So, but you can read if you're watching the video version, you can read the quote right there in front of you, so we don't necessarily go into it. But yeah, as Agent 70 said, it feels like it just falls out to just that. But people who are proclaimed to be fans of a thing have and have not, gotten into the project they are fans of, but more often than not, they do. Next up.
Dave Filoni says you do not have to watch the Clone Wars to understand Ahsoka, the series. But guess what? You really should watch it. And I agree.
Yeah.
You should watch it anyway.
Totally. It's a great series. So, yeah, it's like. So, obviously, and I put this in here, even though I was like, well, who is he talking to? Because if anybody who's going to be watching that show, it's pretty much soaked up everything Clone Wars and Rebels and anything else in the Filoni verse. But I guess this is for the people who are more casual fans, or just kind of come into it. So, because I was looking at this like, wait, are there actually people who've not watched the Clone Wars? Like, who are these people?
Yes.
Yeah,
I guess.
But I know that can happen, and it does happen. So it's like, yeah, sure. New Fast X trailer gives Jason Momoa destructive vengeance in Vatican City. So, folks, I know it's very good and very I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like, you try to bring people to your articles by basically hyping up things and making people interested in, but giving away things, and I guess whether it's a spoiler or not, remains to be seen. But I have seen article titles like, "Hey, Jason Momoa's doing this, Jason they're doing that." Like, why don't you just let people watch the trailer for themselves, see what's in it, as opposed to you, I guess, quote unquote, spoiling what happens in the trailer, type of situation.
Yeah.
Now, granted, some people are predisposed to watch every little thing about every trailer for other thing, and then cry about getting spoiled when the movie actually comes out. That's a whole other side of the situation. That's also kind of similarly sad. That being said, I have not watched this video, or at least I think I watched like 2 seconds of it because it came up when I was watching a YouTube video, but I didn't really watch it because I was like, I don't need to. I'm pretty sure Agent 70 probably feels similarly.
Yep. Not at this point. It's too close now.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the first couple of seconds I saw was like, okay, sure, he's making with the Chucky, whatever. We get it. Next up, though, we're gonna get into the anime section.
I'm gonna watch Haikyuu again, maybe.
Of course, you
of course I will. So in this news story, Demon Slayer Season 3 has kicked off Tanjiro's newest training. So if that wasn't teased already at the beginning of the Swordsmith Village arc, it kicked into high gear in this past week's episode.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I dare say, it was pretty fun. So
yes, you know what's funny about it? For people who are coming off of the high drama of the end of the last season and the high drama at the beginning of this season, this is definitely a tonal shift for the characters that are taking the lead of this story. We're taking a bit of a break from Inosuke and from Zenitsu, but we're getting more spotlights shown on other characters, and of course Tanjiro and Nezuko, right? So enjoy that, enjoy seeing some new characters take center stage, but at the same time these first 2 episodes have really delved into the comedy and some of the cutesy factor. What is that? What is that? That cutesiness? What is it?
Oh, you talking about like kawaii-ness?
Yeah, kawaii-ness. Yes, kawaii-ness. Yes. Kawaii stuff.
Yes.
Right. Every time I hear kawaii, I'm like, Hawaii?
Yeah,
but ultimately that's like it's a bit of a change of pace when you think of how dramatic some parts of the first episode were and the ending of the last season, basically. So but yeah, no, it's been good. It just takes a little getting used to, and then you have to remember all of those times when Zenitsu was like the core. Well, Zenitsu and Inosuke were the core comedy relief for many an episode.
Well, that and Zenitsu being quite annoying at the same time.
Tanjiro!
So and luckily they spoilers, they kind of got that out of the way with the first episode. It was like, all right, here's where they are, and here we go. But yeah, actually going back to what you were kind of
annoying, just somewhere else.
Right, exactly. He's annoying other people.
Yes.
So, which I guess leads to questions like, okay, is this whole arc, and I'm sure there are people who have read the manga already know the answer to this, and this doesn't need to be answered. But for those of us who are watching strictly the anime, I guess lends the question is like, well, is this just going to be is this mostly arc is going to be a solo Tanjiro story? Which, granted, he's the main character, so it's probably gonna, it's gonna be centered around him anyway. Because there's even not much Nezuko in this last couple of episodes so far.
Right.
So
lots of hugging though. Hugging.
Indeed.
Hugging.
Yeah, which actually reminds me. Yeah, so I watched it when I was watching the intro of it, and of course, listen to the OP and all that kind of goodness, and I was like, I noticed, they were you see people pop up into it, and I saw somebody was like, we hadn't seen it in a minute. I was like, oh, because there's a certain section where they have a whole bunch of people like that's going away from the camera, but their backs are turned to it as they're going back, and I was like, oh, man, why they had to do it to us like that? That's messed up. But you kind of get the idea of what's probably going to come up during the course of the season, also. Anyway, like I said, it was good. We're still keeping up with it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode, which is Saturday,
Yeah, Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah, I usually watch them like Monday or Tuesday. So, but anyway, next up, Dragon Ball finally reunites future Gohan and Trunks. Excuse me. So, and this is for Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which I did not know had started. Oh no, this is a promo for Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which I don't think
It's the video game stuff, right?
There is no. I think this is the next part of the anime, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is because this was a promo for the anime, but there is a kind of similarly titled game, from
Right.
like a year or two back. But I don't think it'll have anything to do with what's coming up within this, whatever that might be. But yeah, there was a promo. Well, it seems to be a promo of Super Dragon Ball Heroes that was put out on Twitter, and it looks to be like the title says, reunites future Gohan and Trunks for whatever reason. I did not watch it because I am so far behind on Dragon Ball Super.
Wait, so Dragon Ball Heroes is out now?
No, I think this is I think it's this upcoming thing.
Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime gave us an amazing and wholesome reunion.
Yeah,
now I'm going to look this up.
Yeah, so there is a game, but I think that there is a. Oh wait. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because did something sneak under our noses, folks? Oh, it's a web series.
That's what I'm seeing the same thing. Well, this was a web series that was like 48 episodes from a couple of years ago that was tied to the game. Okay, which I played some of that game. But again, I wouldn't have known either way. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have played that.
No, I knew that. That's why I knew that was the title of the game, so that's why I immediately came out and said, "Is that some video game stuff?"
Right, but I wasn't sure. I thought because I could have sworn they said they were working on another chapter of Dragon Ball Super, which was this.
Right,
but if they're going back to that, then yeah, that's from 2018, and I think that's and I do remember that game, like I said. So it was like, okay, I'm not entirely sure. Nevertheless, there is an anime for it, so they're doing something with it, or something else with it, or they're bringing that web series over here, I guess.
Interesting stuff. All right.
Yeah. Next up.
Alrighty. Just give me a second. I would like, because we were both working on figuring out what this story meant. Right. I was clicking on something else. So just give me a moment as we switch over to the manga corner. And might as well. In unfortunate real world news, Assassination Classroom manga was removed from Florida and Wisconsin school libraries. So Gifford Middle School in Eastern Florida removed the Assassination Classroom manga from its library last month after receiving complaints from groups. The Elmbrook School District in southeastern Wisconsin similarly removed the manga from its electronic library last month after complaint by a parent. The series is facing challenges in other states as well. In the Assassination Classroom manga and its adaptations, a class of middle school students are tasked to assassinate their home teacher, who is really an alien with superpowers, before it destroys Earth at the end of the school year. No surprise for Florida and Wisconsin, same.
Yeah, basically. And because when I first saw this, I was like, they probably just saw the name of the book and was like, oh no, I don't care what's in it. We got to get rid of it. Because for the kids, like they don't really, granted that I know a little about what's going on in this book / anime, but then, it's still ridiculous one way or another. So So stupid. Anywho, Jujutsu Kaisen cliffhanger sets up Gojo's comeback. So the manga has, it says here that the manga has taken a sharp turn towards the final climax of the Culling Game arc, and the cliffhanger for the newest chapter has begun setting the stage for, like I just said. Apparently, Gojo's been out of action in the manga for, according to this article, well over 1,000+ days at the time of this writing. And last time fans had gotten to see Gojo doing anything was his fight at the start of the Shibuya incident. If you're keeping up with the manga, I am not. I don't believe Agent 70 is. Just gonna hop past that because I'm sure that may or may not be something we'll see in the
right.
Next up.
Jujutsu Kaisen shares what must happen for the Culling Game to end. So again, more spoilers for the manga. So, this is an intense arc in Gege Akutami's Jujutsu Kaisen manga series. So, I'm not going to get into it because maybe at some point one or both of us might be reading this. I still have not jumped into that very reasonably priced Shonen Jump subscription.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
Still haven't done it. I find myself without time to read our review books. I'm like, when am I going to read manga?
Right.
But then what happens is that there's going to be like a veg out weekend, like last weekend, where I'm like, oh, I'm looking for something to read, and I have like stacks of prose and nonfiction to read, and I'll pick something like that up or watch something else on Netflix or streaming. So, it's a weird thing to try to figure out what is worth subscribing to nowadays.
So the funny part about this, just a little behind the scenes for folks that may be newer to the show. We were doing evergreen episodes at the start of the pandemic back in 2020, and I dare say that while we were peppering, we were kind of peppering in little bits and pieces of anime stuff, here and there for the way more popular stuff like Dragon Ball or whatever it may be. But being that, Agent 70 at the time had not started on his anime journey, it was just me kind of putting in some stuff that I kind of would just...
Well, I'd only been, right, I was about to say, I'd only been on Attack on Titan at that point.
Right. So I'm saying all that to say that we kind of, the reason why Anime Corner and Manga Corner kind of exists was because we kind of started doing some of that stuff to kind of fluff up the light news or the light comic book part of this show because of what was going on at the time.
Right. And at the same time, as Roddykat said, we're both kind of on a kind of spurred on by my anime journey, and my greater understanding gives Roddykat more of a reason even to keep trying other things. So
yeah, because I've been doing that. I've been on the anime train for a good minute, so it's just a matter of I was like, hey, some newer stuff coming out and some popular stuff have come up that I still haven't seen yet, but nevertheless.
Exactly. And it's that newer popular stuff that I'm on right away because I'm not like behind on anything else.
Right.
So it's interesting how like one plays into the other. Like I'm like, hey, have you watched this yet? And you're like, no, I'll get to it.
Yeah, which is actually going to come into a head fairly soon, actually. Well, give or take what we already got going on with, movie protocol and whatnot, but we'll more talk about that at a later date. So now we're going to get into the comic book corner section.
All right, cut it there.
So this may be something of interest to some folks who like art books and like helping out charities. So
like me.
Exactly.
I saw this story. I'm like, I got to look at this.
Yes, I was going to ask you because I figured you might have had some of this stuff already.
Well, I literally just opened this article up. So this is a humble bundle from Dynamite Entertainment. So I do have that George Perez storyteller. So you go into the story, and then I'll talk
Gotcha.
about what I have.
So essentially, is it is what Age of 7 said. It's a humble bundle from Diamond Comics, which are a bunch of art books. I think the one I have on here is the Art of Atari. Actually, I got that in the hardcover. That you can buy. For those who don't know about a humble bundle, it's pretty much a charity organization that you can they put out a bundle, or they even have a subscription for certain video game bundles and other stuff that you can give money to, and you get some books out of, and or video games or software, that kind of stuff. If you depending on how much you pay. So it is kind of like a, hey, pay what you want and you can get X amount of stuff, and it's usually some good stuff and stuff with a good value on it. If you're watching the video version, you can see, which I don't know if this was intentional or not, this has a $1,337 US dollar value on it. So, which if I'm not mistaken, that's elite if you on a calculator. But nevertheless, like I said, if you're watching the video version, you can, they have suggested price, or you can put your own price in here. And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a lot of stuff in here, folks. It's a good amount of stuff. So if you're into art books, like I said, this might be something you may want to get into. This particular charity bundle, it looks like it is for the Hero Initiative, which is not surprised, but I think you could also adjust your donation to give to other charities that their humble bundle is associated. You have a good bit. This one is specifically for the Hero Initiative, but they do have bundles where you can be like, but they do have bundles where it's like, I might not want to do this one, but I want to, either do this one and or another charity, or just switch up whatever charity it goes to. So. But it's a great thing. It's a great value, and like I said, it's for charity, and you get some stuff out of it. Like I said, there's that John Cassaday book. There's some Vampirella stuff, Art of Trauma. The aforementioned Jose Perez stuff, Howard Chaykin, Tekken, Red Sonja, Street Fighter, Dynamite stuff. The Boys,
right?
The Dirk Robertson's stuff, and that Art of
Atari
book's pretty good.
Right. No, I was just going to add that, in terms of what I would really want, I already own the Perez book.
Right.
I have a hard copy of that. But that Cassidy one looks very nice. The Ramita Legacy book looks very nice. So, those are the Street Fighter ones. The other stuff is kind of, hit and miss for me. I don't know if I would do the 3-book bundle and just give like a good donation anyway.
Right.
Just because I wouldn't want to have like all the other stuff kind of, clogging up the data banks here. But, it's interesting that this is an interesting humble bundle to invest in.
Which, as Age70 kind of just mentioned, this is for PDFs or EPUBs or CBZs, not for actual hardcover or paperback book. This is just like digital copies of, not physical.
Right, soft copy, not hard copy.
Right. But yeah, so like I said, good stuff. Go check it out if you feel so inclined. Next up,
Ghostbusters Screen Accurate Proton Pack is being released by Spirit Halloween. That that renter of temporary spaces everywhere around the country, folks. Spirit Halloween. They are using some of that money that they would be using to pay rent to some landlord that just wants a 1-month tenant or 2-month tenant to produce a screen accurate proton pack for all of those hordes of Ghostbusters that get dressed up every Halloween. Good for them that they have something cool like this. Looking for the price. Yeah,
the more hardcore pretty much have made those their own as they're seeing, but this is for the folks who are like, I don't have that kind of skill.
Or that time.
Right.
Or that time. Sometimes it is really about time. So I don't see a price here.
I actually don't either.
It's not in the article. I'm going to go straight to Spirit Halloween. Oh, $250.
Okay, sure. That's about right.
250, yo,
right.
250.
But it looks, I mean, according, it looks like from these pictures, don't look bad. So
No, of course. If it's screen accurate, it's one size fits most, just like it says. So, you can put it over your back, and yeah, it's powered by 3 AAA batteries.
yeah, odd
It
notation.
comes
It
with
says
gloves.
yeah, odd notations here says it's imported. So I guess this might be possibly a Japanese import or something. Not saying that detracts from it, but it was like that was a weird thing to put in an article. I thought. But yeah, there you go. Proton packs are them. I'm honestly kind of curious, but it's not going to happen. I'll probably be saving my money for this next one. Transformers Legacy Evolution Commander Armada Optimus Prime is on sale now. Y'all know I love my Transformers. That was a mouthful actually. So that particular Optimus Prime variant is $89.99. The pre-orders are out there now. Comes with a trailer, 2 dual blasters, ion cannon, and of course the Matrix of Leadership as an accessory. It's a nice looking figure. If you're watching the video version, this looks like more of the Convoy / Japanese. Oh wait, no, this is from Transformers Armada. Okay, I did not watch that, but that still, doesn't negate partially what I. But because I was about to say, it looks like it was more of the Japanese version of Convoy, or a version of, but not really. It's from Armada. Go figure. Next up,
X06 unveils the first wave of collectible figures from Star Trek Picard. The first 3 1 to 6 scale museum grade articulated figures include Admiral Picard, Worf, and Vadic. So price. These look like hot toys, which means they're gonna be expensive.
Mm-hmm. Also, shout out to Worf in that last episode. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, hey man, he was tired at the end.
Right? He was like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yes. Yes.
Like he straight up had that vibe. I was like, you know what? I feel you. Oh, it was great.
One of the funniest parts was, you had a blaster in there this whole time?
Right. Right. Which, again, speaking of merch, that's probably going to be on sale at some point. That's, Worf's swords / well, Batlift /
yeah, I was about to say, yeah, it's not a Batlift.
It's not a Batlift. I can't remember what they called it though, but they do. There is a name for it. I can't remember what it is though.
Right. And Riker trying to pick it up. I was cackling laughing.
Right.
So, all right. So yeah, there's no price here in the article, but we're going to see more details on this in the weeks and months to come.
Yep. Actually, I'm just gonna click through quick. No. So I'm looking at the bottom now. I figured there might have been another thing, but yeah.
I totally went hunting for the prize.
But yeah, I you know what? For some strange reason, I was not expecting them to have figures for the show, but also can't say I'm surprised. Anywho, Ravensburger releases Disney Lorcana Quick Start Rules. So yeah, thankfully I guess I didn't talk about the leak last week because this article came out anyway. So Ravensburger, who is doing the new Magic the Gathering / Hearthstone type card game for the Disney universe, came out with a rule set because there was a leak of it because some trade magazine and some other folks got a set of rules early. And this particular set doesn't come out until actually August or mid-August. Now that I think about it, because yay. So yeah, this article kind of goes through and what was in that quick start guide, and it's curiouser and curiouser. I have been interested. I and a friend of mine have been interested in this card game because y'all know I like card games. So this is something I'm looking forward to. Needless to say. Next up. Actually, I don't know
Star
if this-
Wars deal over at Amazon.
I don't
Oh
know
no,
if
wait,
this-
at Zavi. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm about to say I don't know if this
Right.
is still going on because this is a few days old. But go ahead.
Right. So apparently at Zavi, I've never heard of Zavi, you can get the Black Series Force FX Darth Vader Elite lightsaber, and from originally priced at $278.99 down to $179.99. That is a discount of 35%. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is again. It is for Vader's lightsaber, and not one that is recently changed status. Um,
Yeah, right.
but again, this is a few days old, so yeah. Well, I'm sure we will see something on that because I think there is actually that this particular thing is actually already out on the market. It's been out for good. Anyway, get fit with Marvel Heroes. So I saw this and I was like, what the heck? Marvel Move mobile fitness program coming soon. And I watched a little bit of the trailer for this, and I'm saying like it's basically audiobooks. What seems to be audiobooks with possibly a fitness theme. Think along those lines, and you're kind of there. So I guess if you're one of those runner type or workout types, you can put this on as inspiration. Yeah. So apparently there's a collaboration with Marvel and Six to Start, which is the co-creators of the wildly popular fitness app Zombies Run. So there you go. If you know what that is, you know what you get into. For the global launch of Marvel Move, which is a new interactive fitness adventure for smartphones. It's coming this summer, and the collaboration features top-tier talent and favorite Marvel characters, including Thor, Loki, Hulk, and the X-Men, in a uniquely immersive story. This is the article from Marvel.com, by the way, so that's why some of this language is like it is. In a uniquely immersive storyline-led running adventure. Then it goes into the pedigree of Six to Start and yada yada, but I don't see. We see the storylines that are here, which one is Thor and Loki. There's an X-Men one with Orcus, apparently, written by Tini Howard. That is the only name on here that I know of. Of any comic book. But yeah, there's a trailer in here, and you can take a look at the app and this article and all that good. Next up.
All right, so in a weird bit of news, Marvel Spider-Man is leaving PS Plus soon. So is that like the online download shop?
No, actually it's not that weird. So PS Plus is there basically, hey, you get, it's like Xbox Live. The way Xbox Live is, where it used to be. Well, actually, I don't remember how what's the last time you dealt with that kind of stuff. But basically, hey, it's a subscription where every month you get three free games. But if you stop paying for it, you don't get those games anymore.
I gotcha.
So in this particular case, Spider-Man, which is actually first party, that is the weird part about this because the Spider-Man game is a first party game, is leaving the PlayStation Plus catalog for some odd reason. I said first party, second party. Regardless, it is a fairly in-house game. I'm not sure why it's they're saying it is because of their normal content refresh, which they do, but normally it's for like mostly third-party games that do that. First time I've seen or heard of a second party game kind of getting taken off of the catalog. But for those of us who already have the game, and that's probably a lot of people, it doesn't matter. But for those who are, on the subscription plan and get those free games, that one's leaving you. So probably might want to, if you want to keep it, you probably want to buy it. Next up, this Marvel Snap card. So yeah, so apparently I heard about this and I don't think I've gotten it yet, but apparently with the last Marvel Snap update, which is their mobile card game, they came out with a Kitty Pride card, which apparently is broken. And it's so broken that they're just basically giving it to everybody, because in order for them to fix it, they would have to pretty much change some game mechanics. Which is kind of funny, because I'm sitting here like, well, this is y'all's game and y'all kind of should have known. But then again, I guess once it gets out into the players' hands, you kind of, you know, you never know what people kind of get into it. But apparently Kitty Pride is OP. And so because of the fact that it's OP, everybody's getting it. So you don't just have to, so nobody's going to be left without it. They've given away cards before, so it's not surprising. But because of the fact that this was broken, it was like, you know what, just put everybody on an even playing field. So there you go. Shout out to Kitty Pride being an OP character for once. Next up.
All righty, so we are over into comic book news proper. The fall of X continues to spread its devastating wings across the X-Men franchise, with a new series starring the Children of the Vault, as we've talked about in previous news. Fall of X will spill out of July's X-Men Hellfire Gala #1, with the new series and titles launching as the X-Men head into a new era of uncertainty and danger. One of those series will be Children of the Vault by writer Dennis Camp and artist Luca Maresca. Camp will make his Marvel Comics debut with Children of the Vault as he teams with Maresca in a 4-issue miniseries featuring the time travelers Cable and Bishop. Okay.
Yeah, which I was like, wait, they've been at odds with each other. Like, I don't even know if they've had any time with each other. You know,
right. They definitely were hunting. Well, Cable's hunting Bishop down, or vice versa, for a while there.
Right.
And thank you to our very own birthday boy, Timothy Adams.
Yeah. Shout out to Tim Dog 98, who wrote this wrote this article. And yeah, it happened to be his birthday on the day that we are recording. So happy birthday, Tim. I don't think he drinks, so I couldn't send him anything I wanted to. Anyway, new Spider-Man's identity has been officially revealed, and he's an X-Man icon. All I'm going to say is BAMF.
Right.
So in that Uncanny Spider-Man new book that is coming out that we talked about, apparently it won't be Peter. It won't be Miles. It's going to be Kurt Wagner.
What?
Yeah. Which,
What you talking about, Willis?
you know, hey, I like that crawler. He's probably one of my favorites.
I do too, but it's one of those
things that make you say,
right. Like, what's going to lead up with this, and why is he doing it? I guess that's the more important thing. Like, he has an identity of his own. Now he's franchising. But I think we've already talked about the creative team. It's Cy Spurrier and Lee Garbett, creative team. And it says here, like, we'll follow Kurt Wagner, the heart and soul of the X-Men, as he becomes New York City's newest street-level superhero, fighting against classic Spider-Man villains and investigating his true parentage from his biological mother. Oh, come on. Are they still doing that? Of all the people with convoluted, biologies, Scarlet Witch being one, Kurt and Rogue is kind of up there. So that part of it's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I get partially why Kurt will want to do that, because he's an adventurer. He loves he's a swashbuckler. But we'll see. I'll read this book. I'm going to read this book. We're going to read this book. You will find out what we feel about this book when it comes down. Next up.
So in the wake of Fall of X, the summer's event coming out of the Hellfire Gala, Canada's premier super team, Alpha Flight, is undertaking a new mutant mission, and it's going to be in a book written by Ed Brisson and with art by Scott Godlewski. Okay, let's see if there is. Is it a limited series? It's 1 of 5. Okay, so it's a 5-issue limited series.
Yeah.
On sale, first issue on sale August 16th.
Cool. I think so. Here's the news that I was hinting around to when we were talking about Amazing Spider-Man earlier. Marvel told Amazing Spider-Man writer to avoid conventions over that's comic book conventions over issue 26. Quote, fans will be very mad at me. So apparently whatever Zeb Wells is going to do in issue 26 is probably going to have some people upset. It says here, the most shocking issue of Amazing Spider-Man in 50 years. Heartbreaking issue that will have fans everywhere talking. Heard this kind of rhetoric before, so sometimes it comes true, sometimes it doesn't. And as I was saying, I said earlier, we're kind of halfway there with the Zeb Wells in this particular volume.
So
not necessarily
I
to the
kind of-
mad part, but it's just kind of annoying and upsetting in part.
Right. I kind of remember seeing Slott running, worriedly away from people in the wake of Superior Spider-Man, the reveal of what happens to Peter. So I remember that at New York Comic Con. I remember him like kind of quickly walking away from like me and a group of people.
Right. And of course, people, in people sending death threats over stupid stuff in the past for comic books or whatnot. It has been a long running thing. I don't know what this is, but people get a grip and a life, maybe a little bit of both. But there is a poster, not a poster here, but apparently here, I'll just put it this way. On stands May 31st, the oversized Amazing Spider-Man 26 promises to be a key turning point in Wells and Ramirez's run, one that will, quote, send shockwaves throughout the Marvel Universe. Quote, I can tease that many people will be very mad at me. I can tease that editor Nick Lowe told me not to do any conventions after this issues come out, which we're going to be in the height of convention season. So, all right. People will be upset. And of course, you can, if you're watching the video version, you can see what possibly might be the cover of issues 25 and 26.
So that's going to be out right after Memorial Day weekend.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess kind of intriguing if these two are the covers indeed. One particular over the other, but we don't have long to get there. But we'll get there when we get there. People need to chill as a comic book, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's I'm sure we'll say this again as time goes by, but really. Next up,
Superstar Creators will celebrate Marvel Comics' birthday in Marvel Age number 1000. I remember Marvel Age.
Yeah, me too.
This August, pick up a giant-sized spectacular starring the X-Men, Spider-Man, and more to celebrate Marvel Comics' birthday in Marvel Age number 1000. So this article has a whole lot of creators, that is, listed with the character stories that they're going to be working on. So that's a pretty cool lineup.
Yeah.
For everyone from J. Michael Straczynski and Cara Andrews to Slott and Allred to Rainbow Rowell and Marguerite Sauvage to Mark Waid, Alessandro Capuccio, Steve McNiven, Jason Aaron and Pepe Larraz, Ryan Stegman, Adam Kubert and Armando Iannucci, and more.
Yeah. Some would say star-studded.
Yes.
Oh, it also says here that Marvel Age 1000 will bring back. I don't know if I still have it.
What's that?
It says here that Marvel Age 1000 will bring back a classic and beloved Marvel Comics tradition, the Marvel Comics value stamp.
Oh, okay.
And I remember a couple of years ago going to a comic shop where they kind of had the old, like, hey, Marvel Comics value stamp, little thing. I had it around here somewhere, but I don't know where it now. So I had to look for that for some other time. And I don't know, because I wasn't sure why they were doing that if they weren't going to bring that up then. But then I kind of stopped going to comic book shops as much. So what they did about that or not. or what that was the whole thing was about. But if I find it, I will have to. Oh wait, actually, oh here it is right here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this plays. Kinda. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, this was the thing that was given out a couple of years ago. Oh, and it said find value stamps in these particular books, which you can't see but it's a bunch of them. So it's a fold out with the yeah, that doesn't play. Taking off my my background, but I will put pictures out there on the internet so you can see this thing. Well, but this was from like a couple of years ago, so I'm kind of wondering if they're continuing this with that, or this is something different. I don't know. Anyway, next up.
It's you.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. I get the bad news. Or the good
It's
or bad
bad
news.
and expected because we actually had as a group as a group of Comic Book Chronicles hosts and co-hosts had discussions about this the other day.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it is not as big a deal to some folks other than others. And let me actually get to what that is. Oh, I hope I didn't have this shot on the wrong shot this whole entire time. That's great. Marvel Comics app purchases are moving to Marvel Unlimited. So Marvel Comics' app was being supported and run by Comixology. As we have talked before, Comixology is owned by Amazon, et cetera. They have cut their staff from Comixology, so probably less people to support said Comixology app and any other apps that they were doing, which were a couple of other people's, including Marvel's, now that I think about it. But apparently the Marvel Comics app is going to get shut down. Marvel pretty much was like, nope, we're getting off this train because they already have Marvel Unlimited. So for folks who have bought Marvel Comics books from the Comixology app or from the Marvel Comics app, all of those purchases are moving to Marvel Unlimited. So if you're not already there on it, which is going to be interesting because knowing what Marvel Unlimited is, sure, they can make space for it, but I'm curious as to see how or if it's going to get a little more cluttered. Because Marvel Unlimited is a fairly clean app for what it is at this point. And now adding people's purchases to it seemed like it may or may not clutter things up. I don't know. That is me speculating. So, but June 2nd is when the Marvel Comics app is going to get shut down. And starting May the 2nd, the ability to purchase comics will be removed from the app ahead of that date. Says here that iOS user will need to create and link your Marvel Comics app to a Marvel account to be able to access the Marvel Unlimited, and then probably Android users don't need to do that because they already have a Marvel account. So there you go. It's a way to get people into Marvel Unlimited, and as we have said before, we're not getting sponsored, but it's a tool that we absolutely use. And it says here that digital redemption codes from print comics are going to be moved to Marvel Unlimited starting May the 2nd. No subscription required. So by the next 2 weeks? Yeah. So the next couple of weeks they'll move redemptions into Marvel Unlimited, which again may or may not clutter up that app just a little bit, but we'll see how that works out. It is probably bad news for the 4 or 5 people who were using that app on a certain
Device.
Device. Yeah, platform. I was going to say
Mm.
actually. Mainly the one that is associated with Comixology and their parent company. But
Right.
as I said, life finds a way, and I'm sure they already have. Next up, though.
Next up, in comic book news, Superman Lost #2 from DC Comics. Was that out this week?
I believe that might be last week. Yes.
Last week. So the Man of Steel dons a brand new white costume, which apparently comes with a full-on jetpack in last week's Superman Lost #2. And if you want to know why he needs a jetpack, you should go read that issue. It's written by Christopher Priest with art by Carlos Pagulayan. Those are pretty good creators.
Indeed. I'm curious about what a priest written Superman book would be, and I've meant to check this out, but I didn't have it not yet. Luckily for Agent 70, I got the story. So apparently there is a Doctor Who story in which that had apparently it tackles the question of what if the Doctor never left Gallifrey, and apparently I guess this story got dug up, and settles some theory about that. I'm not going to go into this, but the story is called Time and Time Again by Paul Cornell and John Ridgway, and I don't know. This looks like is a relatively old book, but I don't. Doesn't say when it came out. So yeah, if you're a Doctor Who fan and don't know about that story and you want to do some hunting, go check that out. Next up.
All right, last but not least, folks, our last story of the week.
And we got one more after that, but let's go for it.
We do have more? I don't see any more.
I'm putting this in here for a reason. You'll see why after this.
Oh, I was about to say, I guess I needed to click reload on the
No,
sheet.
you don't. No, I didn't put it in.
Oh, okay. Gears of War creator Cliff Bleszinski's next project is a comic book called Scrapper. It's a big change because he's making his comic writing debut. Okay. So this is the designer of Gears of War. Mm-hmm. And Image Comics will launch Scrapper. Let's see here. I'm looking for release date. Oh, the first issue will release on Wednesday, July 19th.
I am putting a slight bit of money that at some point this is going to result in a video game.
Or an animated series.
Probably both. As I'm suspecting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know Cliffy B. I don't know him, but I know enough about this person where it's like, yeah, I can't see why this would not go into some sort of video game. If it doesn't, I'll be shocked, honestly. But yeah, Cliffy B's got getting a comic book, because that's again adding to the ways you can get into comic book writing, folks. Be a video game developer. Put that on the list if you don't already have it on there. All right, now then, that is absolutely the last of the comic book news. However, I'm just throwing this one in because it's notable for reasons. What I will say here. Matter of fact, I will drop it in the chat for H70. The Spider-Man movies are coming to Disney Plus.
What? Oh, hold on.
And yeah, not only that, but at the time of this writing, they will be out in a matter of hours. Because yep, it says here. Let's see, April 21st, 2023, which again is tomorrow, as of
15 minutes from now.
Yes, exactly. As of this recording, all of the Spider-Man movies, which means all of the Garfield and Tobey Maguire ones, and Venom, of course, are going to be on Disney Plus, with Spider-Man Homecoming coming to the platform on May 12th. So, which means, yeah, because the other the other Tom Holland ones are already on there, and I think that's the only one that hasn't. Wait, no, Far From Home.
Yeah, I was gonna say Far From Home. Wait, no, wait. Let's back up for a second.
Yeah, is Far From Home already on there? Because that's not mentioned here. Are you checking Disney Plus also?
Yeah.
Because at this point, yeah, Far From Home should be here already. Pardon us, folks.
Exactly. We're messing around here because now we're like absolutely curious. Like, what the heck is going on here?
Oh, let's see what the animated is.
Trying to pull it up on the old. Wait a second. So there's Homecoming, Far From Home. What was the third one?
Wait, I thought Far From Home was the third one.
No, there was Homecoming. No, but Far From Home was the European trip with Mysterio, right?
No Way Home. No Way Home.
No Way Home is the last one, right? Yeah. So that's not going to come out for a while still, probably.
Well, it's been out a couple of years at this point. So it shouldn't. So no, it should be coming soon. I don't know. Maybe they're still working that one out.
Probably
Yeah.
in terms of streaming. Yeah, and probably in terms of streaming rights.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I said, the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Venom. And the Tom Hardy Venom movie are all going to be. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Venom is also coming May 12th. So Venom and Spider-Man: Homecoming are both coming May 12th, but the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield movie are coming tomorrow. As when you hear this is a few days from now, they will be out on the platform.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's why I went and said, let me go ahead and put this in right now.
Yeah, that's listen, that's a pretty big that's a dramatic shift for Disney Plus.
Basically.
You know, because the only Spidey stuff, the only MCU Spidey stuff that was on here was, you know, were his appearances in Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame.
And Doctor Strange.
And Doctor Strange, correct.
Not Doctor Strange. Not Doctor Strange. I'm sorry. I saw that because I was looking.
No, because that would be No Way Home.
Right. That would be No Way Home. Right. So, but yeah. So, want to see the Doctor Strange and that kid from 616?
Right.
Got a little time to wait. But the rest of them gonna be there. So that's pretty cool. You know, I was kind of wondering when and or if that was actually ever going to happen. Now we have the answer to that.
Yeah. It'd be funny if there's ever a time when they come off.
I feel like with knowing Sony, not knowing Sony, but I feel like Sony would do something like, all right, you know what? We're putting it on Crackle, so we're taking our ball and go home.
Right.
I would not be surprised if that actually does happen.
Right. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's that for this week's show.
That is. So hit me with an ad, sir.
Our last ad read of the night is for, you know what, our last ad read of the night when it's late. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or the random Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment as I get my sound effects in order. It helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
And as I rummage through Twitter to retweet a couple of links, including the one we just got, I'd like to thank each and every one of you fine folks for coming out, whether you lurked in the chat while we're recording or, catch this later on after the fact and you're already watching the Spider-Man movies again for the umpteenth time. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nurse Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PCN_dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet, and PopCultureNetwork.com, and all those umbrella sites therein. And of course, the birthday boy, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, The Kliq Nation on Twitter. That's TheKliqNation, TheKliqNation.com. But also, of course, over at comicbook.com under Timothy Adams Rightness Face Off.
Happy birthday, Tim!
Happy birthday, Tim. Indeed. And with that, folks, you can find us on the Coast of the Podcast at cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews.
Gia. You could also find us recording every Thursday night, with the exception of Movie Protocol, of which there will be a few of apparently in the next couple of months. Excuse me. Oh, I just drew total blank. Sorry, I had a Picard. You can find us at youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when we are on live.
And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
So y'all. I really stand. Lights out.